Hello everyone, I'm Serena Filippelli. I am a PhD student in Industrial Engineering at the University of Parma, and the other colleagues that co-authored this paper are Barbara Bigliardi and Leonardo Tagliente. So this is the agenda I will follow. At first, I will present the scope of our work. Then I will give you the main theoretical definitions which are displayed in the introduction part. Then the methodology is explained, and it will be followed by the overall results and the future research directions. So this is the scope of the work. Our paper, in fact, deals with the intersection between the two concepts of open innovation and Industry 4.0. In particular, the paper has a twofold aim. At first, the first aim is the one of proposing an overview of the extant literature on Industry 4.0 and open innovation. And secondly, the second aim is that of providing an example about the adoption of Industry 4.0 under an open innovation perspective. So this is the twofold objective of our paper. So in the end, there will be a multiple case study that investigated the relationship between Industry 4.0 and open innovation. So here a brief introduction to the topic of Industry 4.0. So this term Industry 4.0 was initially coined in 2011 in Germany when launching the so-called Industry 4.0 initiatives. So the 4.0 derives from the fact that the three previous industrial revolutions occurred before. So these industrial revolutions are summarized in the timeline on the slide. So the first industrial revolution occurred in the 18th century, when the mechanical production powered by water and steam had been introduced. Then the second revolution occurred the following century, and it was characterized by the emergence of mass production. So it was made possible by a combination of human labor and electrical energy. The third one, instead, occurred in the 20th century, and it took the form of automatization. So in this case, it was enabled by the IT and by industrial robots. Thus, the term Industry 4.0 arrived after these three revolutions, and in particular it gained increased interest starting from 2015. Industry 4.0 has been recognized as offering a valuable opportunity to companies to drive innovations. And specifically, researchers agree in stating that it can foster firms' productivity and innovation performance, shortening the product life cycles and demanding the pace of innovation to be accelerated. So, the introduction of Industry 4.0 has many impacts also on the whole supply chain, and it requires companies to rethink the way they design and manage their supply chain. Here, another introduction part, but that is related to the open innovation concept. So, this because companies usually are not able to develop innovation by exclusively relying only on their internal resources. So consequently, firms are increasingly collaborating with external stakeholders, and in particular, collaboration between suppliers, manufacturers, and customers is crucial to increase the transparency of all the steps from when the order is dispatched until the end of the life of the product. So in other words, companies are more and more adopting an open innovation approach. In fact, the expression open innovation that has been coined by Henry Chesbrough in 2003, it was in opposition to the traditional closed innovation, because it can be defined as the use of purposive inflows and outflows of knowledge to accelerate internal innovation and to expand the markets for external use of innovation respectively. So the open innovation paradigm consists of three main approaches which are underlined in the slide. So, and these approaches are the inbound approach, the outbound approach, and the coupled approach. So the inbound approach, so basically the inbound process, is based on the adoption of external sources to generate innovation within the company's boundaries. So, for instance, through collaboration, maybe with the universities or research centers. So this is the inbound process of open innovation. Then we've got the outbound process, which is less widespread than the inbound one. And the outbound process is based on the outsourcing of innovations generated within the company's boundaries. And this process takes the form of licensing activities, for instance, or the creation of spin-offs, or maybe the sale of patents. So this is the outbound open innovation process. And finally, there is the coupled process. The coupled process is a type of innovation which is characterized by a cooperation between different partners, so between different stakeholders. For example, like in a joint venture, so maybe setting up a joint venture. So, it follows that the technological innovations brought about by Industry 4.0 encourage the adoption of open innovation practices because these innovations, so the innovations stemming from Industry 4.0, facilitate the sharing of information, resources, and knowledge among different actors. So now that we have introduced the main theoretical concepts, now we move to the methodology part. So, in order to reach the twofold objective of the paper that we have already mentioned in the scope of the work part, so we adopted a two-steps methodology coherently. So, in the first step, we conducted a review on the extant literature. So, the sample of papers to be included in the review was derived by the Scopus database, and we used for the query the keywords open innovation and Industry 4.0. So, we basically coupled those words, those keywords. So, this query led to a total of 50 papers, and all the 50 papers were included in the review. Then, based on the results obtained from step 1, we derived the guidelines for the multiple case study, which is realized in step 2. So specifically, a list of questions containing the main issues that arose from the previous step has been designed for the case study protocol, and it has been used in the following structured interviews in order to then do the multiple case study analysis. So finally, structured direct interviews were conducted on 3 Italian companies which operate in the food supply chain, of course at different stages of the food supply chain, and they belong to the multiple case study. So then I'm going to present the results of our analysis. So at first I will present you some descriptive statistics about the sample of papers that we included in the literature review. So some descriptive analysis have been carried out on the sample of papers which has been reviewed. So these statistics aim at delineating the trend of research, the top journals, as well as identifying the main authors' geographical areas. So as far as the publication trend is concerned, it can be noticed that the first relevant publication on the topics of Industry 4.0 and open innovation appeared in 2015, and this is coherent with the insurgence of the interest about open innovation and Industry 4.0, as we already stated in the introductory part. So, with the exception of the year 2016, at least 2 papers were collected for each year, and up to a maximum of 14 articles per year in 2021, so the current year, okay, which is not yet finished. Then I will imagine that more publications will arise. So the distribution per year shows a general increasing interest of researchers towards the topics investigated. So as far as the source journal is concerned, papers are distributed across 20 different academic outlets. So, and in particular, there are 4 articles that are published from the Journal of Open Innovation, Technology Management, Technology Market and Complexity. Then they are followed by Sustainability, which shows 3 papers published on it. And then, looking at the geographical areas of the authors, we can derive that authorship origin appears to be dominated by Italy, and they are followed by Germany and the United States. Okay, so reading all the papers, of the papers belonging to the sample led to the identification of three main thematic areas, which are the innovation area, the smartness area, and the sustainability area. So the papers belonging to the group innovation stressed that the industries have recently undergone profound changes in terms of innovation. So in terms of new products, in terms of new processes, but also in terms of technologies or new ways to communicate. In fact, innovation can come in different forms, such as incremental, radical innovation, product or process innovation, social innovation, and so on. As far as smartness area is concerned, papers belonging to this area highlighted that recently industries have had to face an important challenge and exploited the influence of Industry 4.0 by adopting strategies based mainly on digitization, and specifically on information and communication technologies and, of course, Internet of Things. So as for the last group, which is the sustainability theme, over the last decades, the role of sustainability in company strategies has increased both in terms of brand image and added value, and as a consequence, the literature on this issue has grown, and so the concept of sustainability has achieved legitimacy also among the stakeholders. Now we're gonna deal with the results of the multiple case study. So at first I will briefly present the three companies that are involved, and then I'm gonna show you the core results of the case study. So as I have said, the multiple case study has been done considering three companies operating at three different stages of the food supply chain. So for privacy issue, we cannot reveal their names, so we label them as Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Alpha company is a world leader in the refrigeration market, and the company actively collaborates with three main types of players in order to produce innovation internally. So the players are the consumers, the sensor suppliers, and the technology providers. Therefore, the adopted approach is the inbound one. So they produce innovation internally, but with players that come from the external world. So the player that contributes most to the production of innovation is the technology supplier. So with the main suppliers, in fact, the co-design activities have been developed, and they are based on the sharing of knowledge, know-how, and technology. Then we've got company Beta. Like most companies operating in the food sector, is not self-sufficient in raw materials for some strategic supply chains, and thus it has set up integrated management systems with suppliers that involve participation in activities upstream in the supply chain with a view to sustainable innovation. Then, as far as the digital technologies of Industry 4.0 are concerned, the company labels them as key enabling technologies, as they allow to collect and analyze large amount of data, which are the big data, to be used mostly for analyzing the consumer behavior, and the idea is that in this way we can involve consumers in more conscious decisions. So basically the involvement of the final customer is the focal point of the open innovation strategy, which is adopted by the company. Then we have the company Gamma, which is a retail company and is the last actor in the supply chain. So there is not much to record in terms of innovation, because the company does not explicitly apply an open innovation model, but rather it implements strategies that involve external actors, maybe to improve the performance, its performance. So for instance, analyzing the consumer preferences and trying to fulfill them by changing maybe the way products are displayed on the shelves. Now, the following slides summarize the most important issues for each actor in the supply chain in relation to the three themes of innovation, smartness, and sustainability. So, for company Alpha, the paradigm of open innovation has enabled the development of product innovation on sensors and automation, implementing the concept of Industry 4.0. So, the greatest efforts are made in product innovation, which translates into a strategy of technological leadership. And the company, moreover, produces also organizational innovation, but in a way which is less stronger than product innovation. So, in fact, organizational innovation consists in the replacement of a company's management system as well as the creation of an open and collaborative web portal for the management of maintenance operations. So, since with product innovation this company has acquired a technological leadership, we can say that the main trend followed by the company Alpha is the smartness trend, as the whole company is characterized by a rather high level of automation 4.0. So this company in fact adopts networked sensors for the control and management of plants, that thus implementing the Industry 4.0 paradigm. As for the sustainability trend, Alpha simply follows the specifications imposed by customers. So, as far as the beta company is concerned, we can notice that all the three trends have been addressed, and this is reflected in all the aspects of the company. So, from innovation to collaborations, both as upstream and downstream along the supply chain. So, specifically looking at the innovation trend, the company put its strongest innovation efforts on product and organizational innovation, using functional foods and nutraceuticals, and giving special attention to the prevention of the development of food alterations. So, in fact, product quality is the main focus of company beta. Thus, it puts in practice new processes to safeguard and to improve it. So, focusing in particular on the extension of the shelf life of products while respecting the environmental sustainability. Then, considering the smartness trend, as already mentioned, the company beta has adopted mild technologies, which in turn have contributed to the development of technologies more respectful of the organoleptic properties of food. Moreover, the company efficiently uses the digital technologies of the Industry 4.0, resorting to ICT, which is now considered as a key enabling technology. Big data, in particular, are used to analyze the consumer behavior patterns in order to involve them in the decision process. So in this way, the company adopts an open innovation approach, directly involving an external stakeholder, which is the final customer. So the sustainability trend instead is related to the promotion of conscious food choices that are oriented towards health and sustainability. So in particular, the issue of food waste has been addressed by developing intelligent logistic networks that allow the reduction of losses and the recovery of food products in the low segment of the supply chain. The Gamma company. So this is the case of the retailer Gamma, that it can be noticed that being the last link in the supply chain that we have examined, there is not much to record in terms of innovation, as we already mentioned. So, however, a willingness to respect the environment has emerged, which is demonstrated by the adoption of photovoltaic panels to support the energy needs of the point of sale. So this is the sustainability issue related to the company Gamma. Now we present the future research directions that we derived from our research. So the results, in particular drawn from the multiple case study, revealed a fourth trend specifically related to the food sector, which is the health one. In fact, from the interviews, it emerged that among the factors to which the three companies under study pay very high attention, there are the development of functional food, healthier food, and packaging that preserves the properties of food as well as the environment. So, it can be said that the issue fits into the food safety strand of study. Thus, a future line of research could investigate how Industry 4.0 technologies can intervene to ensure food safety. Thanks for your attention.